Okay, so Lord help me this morning. I think he's doing a thing with me where now I just have the desire to make the video and just no kind of direction. No kind of direction. But I know that I want to make one. And I even like took some time to like try to flesh out where my thoughts were going. And yeah, I have no idea what this is going to be. So here we go. Let's try it out. Let's see if God is gonna help me figure this out. Okay, so what I'm kind of feeling like this is supposed to be in relation to is, um, I don't know. I guess I'm like subscribed to this channel that's like an apologetics channel, and it's this guy Frank Turek who goes around to colleges, and I'm assuming that these are like this year happening, within the, not really necessarily like real time or whatever, but there's another apologist that goes around to college campuses, and I think now his son is into doing that, and it always gets me stirred up for some reason. I don't feel like I'm drawn to apologetics. I don't feel like what I'm doing is necessarily apologetics, but I do see that people have questions. But honestly, though, I think the way that culture has changed the nature of what truth even is, what objectivity even is, um, like it's really made it so that these questions, they don't seem to be like the questions themselves wouldn't get you to any kind of answer. So it's like, why are you even asking that question? Like, where are you trying to go with it? And after a while, it's like, oh, I know why. It's because this is just whining. It's not, they don't have questions. It's just whining. It's literally like, well, why would God do that? And why would God do that? Why would God walk into a room if he doesn't have feet? Why would God, tell somebody that it's just kind of like this, what's up with that? Like, and it's like, unless you read the entire Bible, it's just the only way you're going to get the answers. Now it's just like, it's not like, okay, I came across this passage and I'm struggling with it. They're just like opening it's like if you've never been exposed to the Bible, you're going to have a question every 2 pages. Like, on the surface, it seemed like the question was about Job. And it is one of the most, kind of puzzling things. It's always kind of notorious for being that. But his question was like, God like takes this bet with Satan, and he's just like, why wouldn't God, um, why does God need to? Well, his question was something like, um, I don't even remember now, but there was somebody in the comments that was like, my question is, why wouldn't he like take that time to annihilate Satan if he was up there? And it's just like, okay, 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 like there's no even place to begin with that, because you have to get through all of their ideas of what things are. Like, do you like they think that Satan is like the big problem, or I don't even know if they even think that. They're just trying to test Christians' thought processes. So it's just like, and they're doing it using their own ideas of what goodness is. When you see evil and the evil bad character, that doesn't even happen in movies though. Like where then the movie would be over. It's like, and again, I really think a lot of our programming, our movies and TV is causing this to happen. because obviously when you're writing especially now where morality is not even the really part of, they're making their own, they're shaping their own morality, and then they're having trouble coming up with these stories that people want to sit through. But the idea is that when you see the evil, you vanquish it, and and they don't understand anything. And so it's hard to even answer that question, because the answer is just going to be like abhorrent. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about all of this stuff, and I'm just like, it's just annoying. Like, this idea that if we could just explain it right, if we could just get the message, if we could just do the love right, if we could just have the music be popping, if we could just, you know, find the important things. Like, I just saw another video that was like, this is why people don't come to church anymore. And it was like, it had like all the disgraced mega church pastors on it or whatever. And it's like, there's always this thing that we're not doing, whether it's major or minor, that's keeping people from. And I just feel like the overarching situation is that people don't love God and they don't care. And the majority of people, which is just harsh information, but true information is harsh. And the truth is the harshest truth of ever truthed. And the main issue is not the Bible. It's not Job being crazy. It's not genocidal God. It's not any of these things. It is the fact that you are a creation and you genuinely don't care about your creator. If the creator came in with all of his whatever and you just were enveloped in the whatever, and there's oneness or with God, and you forget that you're even a soul on the earth, and that you had family, and that you even were an individual, because you're just in the oneness. Like, a lot of y'all would just complain. You'd be like, so what was that whole thing? Why did you make me suffer? Everyone is just consumed with their own existence. And I don't know. It feels like to me that God just knew, like, God already anticipated this. This is why some of us are called, some of us are chosen. And it sounds pompous, but it's incredibly easy to get into the club if you want to be in the club. And it's this other thing of, I don't know. They used to portray this in movies really well too, even like cartoons and stuff, where the evil people, the villains would want to attack the good people because they were good. They wanted their stuff. They just didn't want to be good. They weren't willing to give up their villainy to get the things that they coveted that the good people had. And it's a very, I won't say it's complex, but it's something that you absolutely need to understand. Everything now is, well, all the people that are so-called villains really think that they're doing good, and they have their own perspective, and it's because they had poverty and violence, and that's all they know. And so everybody is this misunderstood good person, and that's just not the case. That's not even, you can't even see that in the world. How many stories have we seen now where people are going the extra mile for literally wicked people, and they're just ending up murdered in their sleep? Like, and it's one of those things, like, it'd have to go on and on and on forever. Like, how much data would you have to amass before you know if that's true or not? And that's the other thing that I'm coming across, is that ever since I did that video about incompleteness theorem, and just realizing that there are some things, even the most complex things, even the things that we would consider uh, concrete, something that we can all agree on, like math. You get it down to a certain granular level, and there's just things that you're going to have to accept. It's not a closed loop that just makes sense in and of itself, and it's just completely reliable for that. You cannot put these sort of logic axioms in place for math, and have it always come out and reliable to where you don't need God to do for anything, and you don't need faith for anything. No, even with math, there are things that are not always true, and there are things that can't be proven. They're just things, and it's really like what we're talking about is the fundamental ground of something like math that we consider to be concrete and reliable, and uh, something that never doesn't lie. And it's true, it doesn't lie, but at the base of it is just, this is true, and you're going to have to accept it. I cannot prove it to you. It just is how it is, which is faith. So, what does the Bible say? That faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of unseen things. It also says that without faith, it's impossible to please God. So, while most people consider faith this lofty thing that you can worry about way later when you get the reality figured out and the fundamental things figured out, then we can talk about faith after that. It's actually the bedrock, which also kind of reminds me of that scripture where Jesus says the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Now, I don't know that much about architecture. I don't know anything about masonry, but I know that he's talking about basically the builders, the people who know what they're doing, rejected a stone that became the thing. It became the entire thing that everything was going to be founded on, and they rejected it. So, in fact, that's just reminding me. I'm going to do some research on that, see what I can get, find out, because when Jesus gives you a metaphor, you can look up that whole thing, and it'll be pertinent. So, anyway, so that's what's happening. And I think that people are sort of spinning their wheels. I think that there's a lot of people who are just not flat out not interested in God. And this goes to what God is doing. People are like, well, why didn't he vanquish the devil when he showed up? Why didn't he punch him in the face when he showed up in heaven? Why didn't he, do this when if he's so powerful? And why didn't, it's the same thing of people saying, Jesus, take yourself off the cross. And I guess that's another thing that I was going to say. Okay, so anyway, let me just keep going because I just had to write that down. But people are going with the questions that people have. If you listen to them all and sort of plot them on the chart, but basically they're saying, what is God doing? What is he doing? And you see that here's the other thing that happens. When the questions get hard, which is really just whining about somebody's choices, a lot of the times, it would be the same thing if you're on a movie set and it's like, well, why did they pick this setting? Why did they do this? That's all it is. Like, that's all anyone is doing, is just whining about God's choices. And what people end up doing, which you absolutely under no circumstances should be doing, is they go, well, maybe when they wrote it, they start picking apart how, like, maybe this is the translation's off. Maybe it's supposed to mean this or that. Maybe what he's really saying is that this is impossible, and what he's saying is that impossibility is. Do not get your grubby hands off of the scriptures. Don't touch them. Don't touch them. And this whole thing about like, oh, they've been changed. No one's thinking these things through. Who changed them and when? Who changed them and when? Even if you want to say like the scriptures that we're reading now are absolutely at least like they haven't been changed since documentation has been around. Because anybody like, they tried to say that about the Old Testament because the Old Testament was ancient. They never said that about the New Testament because the New Testament was considered recent. Like up until like 50 or 60 years ago, people would say that the New Testament was recent. Nobody was questioning the New Testament. I feel like I said this already. Now, the Old Testament, that's where the skeptical people, you know, the devil felt comfortable planting seeds because it was like, how do we know how old this is? How do we know if this is the original? Boop, Dead Sea Scrolls. Then they figured out. And then that stopped. Then they had to come up with some new, how do you know, how do you know, how do you, blah, blah, blah. And that changed every year. So now it's like, how do you even know that what you're reading are letters? Like, it's really weird now. A couple, like maybe one generation ago, it was, how do you know this isn't just a compilation of all different types of religions that have already existed already? You know, that's the whole zeitgeist situation. Okay, well, I guess that one didn't take well enough for them. So now they, or maybe it did, but I don't know why they're not sticking with these things because every new generation they got something else. You know, I think we try to do a good job of like clapping back, but you know, it's not always like the most successful. So I don't know why they don't just stick to one for longer than 12 years. But um, anyway, it doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter anyway. Like me, you know, I think maybe within the movement of these people who are skeptical, who are being genuine about raising their questions, there's some people that could be believers that are being taken. But by and large, and this is also, I'm emboldened by this sermon that I heard yesterday from. It's actually an old sermon that someone transcribed and recorded from Charles Spurgeon, and it's about basically like the origin story of the Samaritans. And you know, if you're not deep into your Bible, whatever, you're not going to know anything about the Samaritans beyond Jesus talking about the Good Samaritan, and you know how the woman at the well was a Samaritan, and they're kind of despised people among Jews. But basically, they, you know, during exile, you know, once the king of Judah, you know, was the final kingdom that went before Israel split or after Israel split. Once they went into exile, the king, I think it was the Assyrians, the king of Assyria, like just was moving people all around. And so he moved some people, had some non-Jewish people settle in the land of Samaria. And apparently, like when these people went into the land of Samaria, there was some stuff that started happening to them. The wild beast was coming out of the woods, you know, way close to people and doing stuff. And so um, they were like, oh, this is because God is not pleased that these people are in the land and they're defiling the land. So we need to get like a priest, you know, or, you know, one of the Levites to come in. We'll just ship them down there and show them how they're supposed to behave themselves, or what the God of this land requires, is what it says. And you know, this is, so much of this is about like the language of the day and how God talks to us in the language of the day. And so a lot of times we think that what we're reading is like, this is what we're all supposed to be doing. It's like, no, you're reading about how God spoke to those people in the language of their day. They were worshiping gods. They were worshiping gods, and he was like, listen, that worshiping God stuff, you're going to not need to not do that. I need you to worship one God. Like he had to speak to them in a certain way pertaining to the gods. So he had to be like, okay, I'm the big God. Those many gods are not the gods. I'm me. I'm the main God. Like, so he's talking in this way that we go, why is he talking to them like that? And it's like, that's what they were like, okay, I think I understand. You're saying that we can't worship anybody else but you. And he's like, yes. None of that other, that was a foreign concept to them. So he's talking to them like that. And so, anyway, that's just an aside that'll probably be relevant later. So they go in and they teach the people that are currently living there what Yahweh requires. And so they learn that, but they don't um, get rid of their native practices from wherever they came from. So they're like, okay, well, we'll do the requirements that Yahweh needs or whatever, so he can like keep the lions from coming through or whatever. But we're also gonna just like keep our gods, the traditions of where we come from, and bring them here too. And it was saying like that's what they do to this day, and that's what a Samaritan is. It's somebody who worships God, but they also worship all the gods from their ancient cultures. And the sermon was about just that, the sort of the spirit of that, the Samaritan spirit of people who sort of are adding God to their pantheon, their existing pantheon of things that they worship. And have I heard that sermon put in a certain way? Have I heard that idea put in a certain way? Yes, but for some reason it was just really hitting me when I was listening to it, and I was like, yeah, I'm sticking with this. This is the default position of most people. They're not that interested in their God or in their creator. They're not that interested in their creator. When we see God being invisible and not having these sort of grandiose, sort of lowering the grandioseness of his, the things that would cause us to be drawn to people, just him on his basic core attributes. Yeah, no, people don't care. They are, it's like making a creation, like creating humans and then watching them. Some of them get it, and some of them, it's like a cartoon or something. He's like, okay, here we go, and go. And then everybody wakes up and they're like, I'm alive. And he's like, yeah, you're alive. And you're like, some of them are like, yay, this is great. Like, you're God. That's amazing. Woo! Like, this is cool. And then some people are just like, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. And they're just kind of like going around in a circle. Like, they're just like malfunctioning. They're just like obsessed with the fact that they're alive and they just got to do everything. It's like, okay, well, hold up now. Like, you can do, like, there's plenty of time you don't have to, like, do everything. It's like, I'm alive, I'm great, I'm alive, I'm a creation, I'm alive. It's so awesome that, like, it's just like, okay, like, hello, like, there's a God in heaven that made, like, everything that you see. Like, I don't care. I just want to live. I just want to live. I just want to live. Like, they're just, it's like, that's just what I see. It's just people who are just so self-consumed. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, don't you need peace and joy and all the things that you were created for? Yeah, I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go get it. It's like, no, you can't. God is the one that gives it to you. You gotta be connected to him. Like, I don't understand how it happens, but it's clearly happening. People are so consumed with their own livingness. Like, and I understand sort of, because it's like I'm also here, I guess, and I understand. Like, I remember being little, and yeah, everybody, when you're a kid, you're more likely to be like, consider God and that God exists, and you're like, God's cool. I love you, God. I love you, God. You're gonna say that when you're a kid. You're gonna write him letters. You're gonna pray and think about angels and all that stuff. And you get a little bit older, and then some people do this thing where it's like you have a choice, I guess, to decide, well, all of that was just immaturity. It was just youth and naivete. And now I'm starting my real life. And you sort of get ushered into, your body matures. Now you're experiencing more things. And people just get consumed with that. Like I was just thinking about like people like partying and going to parties. Like, and I remember being that age and like nothing would stick because I'm just like, okay, so we're all hanging out. Like, do y'all remember going to parties? And I think parties are still like this. Just let me know. I haven't been to one, and like one of these type of parties where and there's no point. It's not anyone's birthday. You know what I'm saying? We're just at a party and we're just expecting something cool to happen between us. Like, so we can talk about it. Like, have you really just thought about the party and what it is? It's like, it's like, okay, there's some debauched thing that's going to happen. It's going to be cool. It's going to be worth putting in a song. But like everything has to go right. You have to be in the right mood. Things have to be like nothing can get awkward. And then, you might have like, there might be like 1% of people with the epic party story, but you have to go to like 50 parties to get it. Like, it's so pointless. It's so pointless. People die at these things. They get like their lives permanently altered. They get raped. Like, it's just revelry. And it's got a 50-50 chance of just going way wrong every single time. Like, that's what people are abandoning God to go do. I don't get it. I've never gotten it and I don't get it. And what's really weird is like when people reflect on their life, I think majority of people, if they could go back to that innocent state of childhood, they would. More than adolescence, more than the beginning stages of whatever. Like, but which is ultimately like, it's a mixture. What I say, like, heaven is like, and what God is like, is a mixture of you being a child, and then also anytime you had an experience as an adult where you had that thing where time slowed down and you just couldn't believe, like, when somebody's like, it's 2 a.m, you're like, what? That is all of God's stuff. And people, I guess they don't believe that it is that way. There's not a lot of huge examples. Like, it's not something that you can. It's something that we would have to, just like a party. You have to get together and find this out. But church is not conducive, and that's unfortunate too. Because guess what? Church is full of a lot of people who don't really are not super into their creators either, which sounds crazy, but it's true. A lot of people in church are there to be at church, and it doesn't really have it. Like, it's the same Samaritan type spirit. And the sermon that I listened to was really great because it was like, he was giving all of these examples, the Spurgeon era examples of Christianity, which was really, really cool to listen to and great because he was very much talking about cultural Christianity and how that isn't enough. And now we would probably die to have the type of cultural Christianity that he grew up in. But but he was talking about the various reasons why people end up in church, and they do it out of fear, or they do it because of what would be reasons in the day. He brought up a lot of actually interesting examples. Like he said, one was like a man uh, raises his children in the manner of the world, and then he's surprised when those children treat him in the same manner as the world, and he feels despair that his children don't care about him anymore now that they're grown, and he finds himself in church. And all of these reasons why people feel like they need church. And I guess that is also where the whole crutch thing comes from, because I'm like, what is the crutch? Where did the crutch narrative happen, where people find that to be why people do religion? And that has changed over time. Like, that's not really a thing anymore. But what is always going to be around is people who would like to escape punishment. People just like these Samaritans who moved into a land and had all these things happen. They're trying to, they fear the Lord. And that was the other thing. It was like gradations of, there's people who fear the Lord, but they still want to do what they, all the different stuff they want to do. And then there's people who don't fear the Lord at all. And then, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But when you don't, but you can also not follow through with that and end up with this weird, janky thing where God isn't even anywhere around. And that's what a lot of people in church are doing, where they feared the Lord, they responded to the call because they didn't want to go to hell. And so they're in church and they're just doing church things to keep them out of the world and keep them from hell. But that's not the same as, a party is revelry. And that's why people think that, most people would be right. Like, people find church to be fake and inauthentic. And it's like, yeah, people can feel the energy of you're just trying to keep yourself out of the world. And so, you're having parties on the same night that the world is having parties, because the church parties will keep you from going to those parties. It's like, that's not about Jesus. It's got nothing to do with Jesus. Like, I would love to have a Jesus party where, just anything could happen, anything could bust out. We're just inviting the Lord to be in our midst. And, we're just all hanging out because we all love Jesus. And I think we get to a certain point, especially in our prosperity, like this country. I was thinking just randomly, like, this whole thing about like denominations and all these little like nitpicky things would go away if we found ourselves in a tribulation situation and the Christians are getting rounded up and exterminated, and my eyes meet with a Catholic, we're linking arms. That's my brother in Christ. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that it's just really hard for like the things about us to shine through when everybody is happy and fat, and everyone is taking advantage of the generosity and the grace of God. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm all over the place, and I know that, but I just feel like people need to understand, like, most of y'all are not interested in this. And while there's a battle going on, the battle is at least between the people that could be interested in it if they knew the truth. But like, there's not a battle for the people that don't care and never gonna. Ain't no battle. There's no battle, and they'll tell you that. They'll be like, I'm not fighting. They're like, that's all made up. Because nobody's battling for your soul. you're gone on. You don't care. This world is it for you and you love it. Like it's been explained to you over and over how temporary it is. You don't care. You're going hammer on this world. You're giving it your all. So yeah, the devil's just going to keep you in a nice, comfy state until you go to the next place. He doesn't need to, so much of what the devil does is he's not, if you're not worshiping God, he's not going to make you go to a place where you might actually do that. And I don't know, maybe I should talk about my little tenets here because that was part of my tenets. So if you're really interested in understanding God and knowing God and finding God, and you think he's impossible to find, he is hiding. I'm going to tell you right now, he's hiding, especially now in these last days. And it's not even, he's always been that way. But now it's the amount of alternate stories and alternate universes you can live in, and the way that you can live, he's just so hidden now. And he's not going to change his methods. I think as the end times gets closer, you should really be freaked out when he starts, coming out of the woodwork and starts really getting more blatant, because that means things are about to get bad if they're not already. And you see that in Revelation, where the more things amp up and the more things are, get more overt, and the closer time is running out, the messages are getting more like in your face. So the reason why he's doing that is, again, like my weird example of just him making creations, and some of them are going to be alive and accept him, and it's going to be great and cool, and some of them are just going to malfunction and be like, just worship any and all things, including themselves, and it's Island of Misfit Toys around here. But some he will save, and those will be an incredibly, incredibly valuable treasure that he died to get. So yeah, he's just trying to see if you will draw near to him, and he will draw near to you. If you don't draw near to him, then he will never bother you. He will never bother you. So how do you draw near to him? Okay. Well, the easiest in your face right there thing to do. A lot of people like to go to church. A lot of people, and I understand there's certain personalities, you need to engage with a person, and I get that. You need to talk to someone on the phone. You need somebody to, get the wheels turning. I get all that. If it's something that you can do in the privacy of your own home, if you don't trust, the outside influence of others, which I guess is sort of my people group that I'm talking to, then what you need to do is you need to get yourself a Bible. Okay? Oh, the Bible, okay. I can't even recreate all the different things that people say about it. Don't you find it convenient that with zero money, zero proof, zero time and effort, someone can get you to completely doubt the Bible's validity and not open it up? Like, I wonder who did that. The Bible is just sitting there. It's not, it's just being itself. It's just sitting there being itself. Open it up. Do not try to bend any piece or part of it to your understanding. Let the tension be in the Bible. You have to believe that God exists. You have to, even if it's just temporarily, like you have to, And I looked at this really great thing because I was looking up the etymology of the word assume. So I was like, what's the difference between assumption and I don't know what it was, but then I ended up looking up presume because assume was a little bit, I was like, I think we use presume the way that we use assume. That's not important. But anyway, here's what I'm talking about. And this is not bad. This works, especially when you're dealing with something invisible that you're trying to figure out. You need presumption. Here is a great definition to presume. To presume is to base a tentative or provisional opinion on such knowledge as one has, to be held until it is modified or overthrown by further information. Okay, you need to get your presume cap on and start filling in this information and making a picture. Waiting for God to come down and tell you the whole thing, which you're not going to get anyway, because you don't have a presumption map. You make a map, you get your pencil out, and you start filling in all the territories. Then you go, oh, that's not right. And you take your big fancy eraser and you erase that and you fill in the thing. Okay? Over time, you're going to be like, oh, I was right about this. And you're going to start filling things in with something more permanent than the pencil. But until now, God exists. Pencil in, God exists. Pencil in, Satan exists. For now, so that you can come to a freaking conclusion. You can't just sit there and go, oh, which is the right belief? And then listen to other people talk and try to, oh, no. Okay, you have to take the leap. Okay? This is really more like, I was thinking about this is really an issue of forensics. Like, if you had a homicide victim or whatever, you had a body, you're not going to look at the body and be like, well, is this person really dead? Is this really a murder? What are you doing? The evidence is here. You're going to have to figure out what happened. Well, what if I'm not right? Okay, well, call the first witness. You got a list of 10 people you can call. You're going to have to call person number 1. You can't just go, well, of these 10 people, it's believed to be that it was, 10 people could have been responsible, or maybe it was one of them. It's like, call them and find out. Okay, cross him off. No, he wasn't around. She wasn't around. Okay, here's what I think happened. I think it was a crime of passion. I think it was this. This guy probably had gambling debts. Okay, that's not bad. That's fine. If you want to just show up the first day and go, yeah, this is definitely gambling debts. I personally think that's ridiculous, but thank God we have forensics. We can just go, okay, let's find out. Let's find out. We don't have to do this thing where we just argue back and forth about our our ideas about what things are. Get in there and figure it out. And so a lot of things, a lot of people like to say, or there's a lot of things out there saying, oh, well, you can't find evidence for this, you can't find evidence. They're telling you that. You're not actually going in to see if it's true, because why would they lie? Okay, first of all, you need to really just understand this isn't part of your thing that you have to fill in, but please realize if the Bible ever turns out to be legitimately true, that's toppling a lot. People do not need this thing to be true. No one is going to be jumping up and down to find out the Bible is true. So yes, people do have a vested interest. Please, nobody's going, trust me, if the Bible is true, I would be the first one to tell you, I would be the first one to congratulate all of humanity. No, literally no one is saying that. So if they need to fudge a thing here and there and say, oh no, Nebuchadnezzar never did this, oh, the Egyptians never, we don't have any record of that. Oh, like all of these different things. Meanwhile, the Bible is like, on this day, this person with this person, and they went down to this place near the river by the thing. Like, I cannot even tell you how detailed. Oh, well, this is just a story. Really? A story about like, oh, the Garden of Eden is really in your mind. It's not a real place. It's just a metaphor. Really? Because it's right by the Euphrates. There's 5 rivers that go through it. Like, why would it put that thousands of years ago before you ever had some weird New Age thought about whatever? So it doesn't make sense for there to be that many details. No one was writing, even the frame that you would have to say that where, these stories like, I don't know, Lemony Snicket or whatever, where it's a person writing to you about the events of this other thing. Like, that didn't even exist until like 400 years ago. No one was writing modern stories with a frame of like, dear so and so, let me tell you about the story of Cinderella or whatever story that we do that. So you can't say that Acts, which is basically an account written to somebody else, Luke, which is an account written to somebody else, that was a story. That clearly was, that Paul's letters were just performance art. That doesn't make any sense. None of that existed. This is thousands of years before any of these concepts were around. Okay? So when Paul's like, send my love to so and so and blah, 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 it's a letter. Like, oh, well, somebody faked this letter. What? Bring my coat to the whatever and make sure you don't. That's why no one's doing that. That would be so abstract and just not a thing that existed 1,000 years ago. So don't let people's laziness get into your brain. You need to know this for yourself. Here's how you meet God. You get your Bible. You accept the entire Bible. You accept that God exists. You accept that Satan exists. And that everything in the world is catered to your condemnation and to your not accepting God. Everything in this world is about you not accepting God. And if you ever found out that that was the main motive for all of the things that ever happened, you would freak out and run to God, which is why he can never let you know that that's why everything is being hidden. Why aren't we finding out about, aliens? If demons are coming down and tell people this and that at the highest echelons of whatever, why aren't we? Oh, because people would panic. No, it's because you would know that God is real. It's because you would know that God is real, that Jesus is real, that whole thing was real. That's why there's hidden information. They don't want people to convert to Christianity. They don't want people to come to Christ. They don't want people to call on Jesus and find out he's real. That's what everything's about. It's not about panic. It's not about, oh, well, we want to keep our, they're going to tell you any other thing except for that, because that is really the truth. So they'll tell you something real wild and crazy over that. They'll be like, oh, no, yeah, because, there was a massacre. So 100 people died. That's what we don't want anybody to find the bodies. That's what it was. Yeah, no, we're all shapeshifters, and that's why. But it's a big secret. Like, they'll tell you anything besides the fact that we are trying to keep you from getting to God. We want you to stay on this planet and to stay here and think everything is about. Oh yes, because if everybody found out, they would rise up and take over this place. Because it's all about this place and the world peace, and they want you to not make it to the other place, which every single person is destined to go to. Everyone is destined to die. But they don't want you to focus on that at all. So they'll let you have like a couple of victories here if it means that you completely and totally forget about the ultimate victory. And similarly, God is seeing what you're going to do in this temporary holding cell of a place called life. He's observing you behind the double mirror of him being invisible and seeing what you're drawn to, seeing if you even care that he exists when he's not giving you candy and good vibes. if you like his actual attributes and character, if you like humility, if you like meekness, if you prefer peace and joy over monetary gain and ambition and gossip and lying, um, if you are forgiving, if you're contrite, all of these other things. If you're going to do that when seemingly no one is watching, so um, so that's what he's trying to do, and that's what he's gonna do until this thing comes to an end and we start the next thing. So uh, he's keeping it under wraps. Even when I'm like trying to talk, like even now, like I'm talking for 50 minutes, I feel like I've just been talking for saying the same thing for whatever. Like some people may watch this, most people will not. So, and the people that watch it, some people will get what I'm saying and it'll penetrate, and but most people will not. And it's not because it literally doesn't matter how good I am at oration. Um, the best I can do is offer up my faith to actually try to exhort somebody. And either God gives the increase or he doesn't. So, the talk, we can talk and talk and talk and blather on. God is going to, he's not going to let people, Jesus spoke in parables. And as much as I want to be like, listen, let me give you the secrets of the universe. It just comes out wah, wah, wah. And it's just like, what is she even talking about? Because God is like, he wants to keep this thing double blind, like pure science experiment or, research forensics experiment. And I heard a really great video the other day about like how cultures, why doesn't God just show us the right way? Why do we have all of these different belief systems? Why do we have all of these different this and that if Christianity is the true religion, blah, blah, blah. And I think it was Evan again, the same guy that did the incompleteness theorem, but he was just saying how the grace of having all of these different cultures and all of these different value systems, where you can see which ones have the right, are when implemented on a large scale, which ones are actually working. You've got this whole smorgasbord of things that you can see. What is doing the most good, what is seemingly doesn't matter, and all people basically believe this way anyway, and whatever. What does it look like to have a society where the two rules are just have empathy and whatever the other stupid thing was? Is anybody actually living in that society? I don't think so. I think people are just talking about living in that society. But and we see Christianity's track record, and then of course in most people's eyes that track record is basically invisible and can be attributed to all these other things. So I don't know if that is them blinding themselves to the truth, if God's blinding them to the truth. I don't know, but they're blind to it. They're going to insist that Christianity did absolutely nothing that any other things have already done. And, they're never going to see the difference, the change, or they're just going to listen to people who say that, which is really unfortunate. I mean, these people like Dawkins and people who just hate God, and in their hatred, they are really probably going to be responsible for a lot of people's souls. I mean, it's really upsetting. I don't think that they even, they're betting on it, none of it being true. So it's a bad bet. So, you got all of these different people, all of these different gradations of wickedness. And why is there so much evil in the world? Because you're in the world, sir, man. Like, get over yourself. Everyone's either contributing a drop, and some of us are contributing big buckets, but everyone's got a drop. Everyone ruined somebody's day. Everyone, could have given and didn't. Everybody ignored something that was happening, gossiped, you know, didn't want to lose their position, so they just let somebody else take the fall. Everybody has contributed to the chaos. Not, the people's neighborhoods that are just run down and jacked up. We could all pick up a brush and clean that up. We don't. The government's supposed to handle it. These people are supposed to handle it. Potholes jacking up people's cars. Some people are filling those in. And then we see, yes, some people are filling those in and then they're getting cease and desist letters. I get that. But that's just the wickedness of the world. What are you going to do? Give up? You're going to just say, well, forget it? Because that's clearly what they're trying to make you do, because this world is run by the devil. And the devil has got this country, the tentacles wrapped around this country, and people are trying to bring it back to its original luster. And it's just like, yeah, no, not going to happen. Go sit down. Go sit down. I'm doing a thing. That's what the devil's saying right now. So, anyway, I don't even know. But I did all this yapping, and I'm going to post it. But because I gotta just trust that God is gonna do something. Because all I know is I felt like I needed to make a video, and I'm just trying to be obedient. So I don't know. I don't feel like I said anything. I didn't feel like I had my stuff popping. Like literally, of all of the videos that I have up now, which is like 250 or something wild, there's probably like 8 really good ones. That's in my opinion. So this is just one of many, and it is what it is. But I just hope y'all understand that God's going to keep doing this. Every person that gets born is going to go through this process. And some people have, just like there's gradations of wickedness, there's gradations of righteousness. Like God gave me a lot of, he gave me a lot of head one-ups. I don't know why. If I had to guess, I think it's from people that came before me. I don't think it has anything to do with me. I think he's fulfilling promises to other family members. So I can't even take credit for it. But, I can see plainly in my life where he sort of gave me certain advantages and blessings. And I think a lot of people are that way, but can they see it? Can they not? And it's not just all about like, I don't know, super miracle, like these bombastic things like, oh, I could see into the spirit realm and all. Like, that's not necessarily the gifts that God gives out. But it's not that he doesn't. He's just really trying to like be stealthy and hide and not show you. He's showing you the truth, but that's the thing. It's like it's also a discipline. It's like training. Like if you're not going to start with the Bible, why would he give you any other stuff? But at the same time, if you have faith and you reach out to him, it's kind of like you get this direct line to him when you have faith. So there's all of these ways, which I might have to just do in another video. But you got a lot of people who are just simply not interested. And they think, well, God should just stop me in my tracks if he wants to get my attention. It's like, that doesn't work. That's not, what human person, what actual human relationship operates that way? Why would you expect God to operate that way? And another way that he speaks to you is through, the actual planet and reality, since he made it all and it all relates to something. And it's all, just like an artist's creation tells you something about him. So, he's giving us opportunities to draw close to him. The very way that we function, us being made in his image, we're like 90% of the way there, just being in these bodies and experiencing life the way that we do. So it's not like he's asking us to start at zero. He's given us a lot of hints, and a natural nature that just understands him fully. And we really just need to tap into that. Naturally, when you die, most people, it seems to me that they just tap into it naturally. I mean, you're dead and he's there, and you understand it all, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is God, and it's not a big deal. Like, you understand, like, not it's not a big deal, but as far as the puzzling that everybody likes to do on Earth, and I don't know, a lot of it just seems performative because if you really wanted to know, you would find out. And a lot of people just aren't doing the work. They're not doing the work. And or the proper work. And I understand church hurt and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But I think most people are just whining about the process of being alive and on this earth. You're just whining about it. It's not that they have deep questions. It's just whining. Why am I here and nobody told me what I'm here to do? Why do I start out as a baby? Why do I have to? It's like, okay, that's not deep. That's just you complaining. Okay, well, enough of me trying to fix this video and make it substantive when it may or may not be. So I'm going to try and salvage the rest of my day, and y'all be blessed.